Hi, my name is Jamie Hadfield with Legends Health, Wellness, and Performance. And today we just finished our podcast with Karsen Delgado. And one of the highlights that I got from the podcast was to live your life in gratitude. She also spoke about her book, Healed by His Hands. I hope you enjoy the podcast. I would call you a true innovator in regards to functional medicine. And you started out with allopathic medicine. You started out in conventional medicine.
Correct.
And you have shifted over to functional medicine, and now you've even shifted a little bit more into maybe even a spiritual or a energetic realm of medicine. How did that happen?
That is a wonderful question, Jamie. And I just wanted to thank you for allowing me to come on for this podcast. I'm really excited to share things that I've learned in hopes that it'll help a lot of patients out there, a lot of people on their healing journeys. So I knew from a very young age that I wanted to be a nurse practitioner. I was 14 when I decided that was going to be my career path. And all I knew at the time was allopathic medicine. That's what I had been raised around. And so I started studying in high school and taking early college classes. And then I was fortunate to get my RN at a young age. And then I went on to get my master's in nursing and, board certified in family practice. And I practiced Western medicine, allopathic medicine for about 5 years in a family practice setting. And I loved it. I loved my patients. I loved to help them. But I just felt like there were more tools out there that I could find, that I could really incorporate to help them heal in a deeper way. And I was writing a lot of prescriptions, but patients would come back and they still were symptomatic, or then they were having side effects. And so then I felt like, I just gave them this prescription and it helped with this symptom, but now they have another symptom. And so then, you write another prescription, and I just felt like it wasn't flowing the way that I would like to help them, to fully heal.
So if I understood you right, I kind of want to get this right. So you felt like the more prescriptions that you were adding more side effects, and patients were actually getting sicker with the prescriptions that you were adding to. Now, in medical school, in nurse practitioner school, is that what they teach you?
They typically teach us about symptomatology and looking at laboratory values, and then based on that, you give a patient a diagnosis, and then based on the diagnosis, this is how you treat it with this prescription, for cholesterol or diabetes or high blood pressure, or thyroid disease. Mm-hmm. So I just felt like maybe there was another way. I felt like our bodies are divine, like they're gifts from God. And if that's the case, there has to be a way we can really empower our bodies to heal and reverse chronic diseases. And so then I started to look into more integrative, therapies where I really focused more on the dietary aspect. And I was floored to realize how powerful dietary shifts can be, that food really is medicine. And so I started to look into the dietary changes. I looked into herbs, plants that grow on this earth. And I was so pleased to find that a lot of our pharmaceutical agents actually derive from plants. And so essentially we can take out a portion of the plant and make a pharmaceutical, but we're missing on a lot of the synergistic components that are still in the plant itself. And so as I started to incorporate those types of remedies and healing modalities, I found that I was able to kind of help shift my patients into a better alignment to heal. And they were able to actually receive even more personal insight to their own healing journey as to what they needed to do next, whether it was dealing with this really bad toxic relationship that was emotionally draining, or maybe even completely shifting their career path because it was so stressful and just negative for them. And so it was really a wonderful experience that way.
So I kind of want to divulge a little bit about my actual story, because I started out as a nurse, and then I went into pharmaceutical, and I started out in pharmaceutical research. And then I went into pharmaceutical sales. For about 15 years of my career was spent in the development of pharmaceuticals. And when I understood root cause resolution and functional medicine and integrative medicine, I got angry at my allopathic and my conventional medicine because I was in a place where I was going out, I was educating physicians, I was at Yale, I was at Barnes Jewish Hospital, UCL Davis. I was at some of the most prestigious hospitals, Sloan Kettering, and I was the one that was educating the practitioners about the medicine and what it did, and some of that was being trickled down from what I actually learned from the pharmaceutical world. And that was great, and it was amazing training. It truly was amazing training, because I will give kudos to the pharmaceutical companies, because the pharmaceutical companies really make sure that you're more of an expert in that little box than the practitioner, right? Mm-hmm. Whatever that medicine is, they make sure, and the reps go through extensive training and tests, and constantly are being tested to make sure that they can express what the pharmaceutical company wants them to express. And so when I found out that pharmaceuticals depleted the body from a nutritional standpoint, and that we as practitioners were not being educated on that and how to help because that causes disease. If I'm depleted from some type of nutrient, I get depleted, and then it manifests into a disease somehow. And so I kind of went through the 5 stages of grieving, right?
Yeah.
Like I went through denial, and then I went through anger, and then I came to a place of acceptance. Would you say that happened to you as well?
Yes, it did. And I will say again, like, I am appreciative of pharmaceuticals, because in one point of my personal illness and healing journey, I took medications, and without it, I would not have been able to function as a mom, and I wouldn't have been able to continue working. And so I have a personal gratitude for them. I feel there's a place for them. But as I was able to shift into more, integrative methods to heal, I've been able to be off medications, and now I feel like my body is on the right track to fully healing some deep-seated issues, some things that maybe were passed down from my ancestors that I decided to take upon myself to heal from in this life.
So in functional medicine, we talk about getting to the root cause resolution, and we actually look at epigenetics, right? Now we have the genetic profile that was discovered in 2014, and we're looking at the MTHFR and COMT genes, right? We're looking at, from a genetic standpoint, how your genes get expressed. And in my research, I have found that really it's 10% of your genes cause the disease, and 90% of it is diet and lifestyle. And so it depends if that key gets expressed or not. And you are such an innovator in the field, because I think you've even taken it in regards to spirituality, in regards to genetics. Can you divulge more information in regards to how that comes into your world?
Yes, absolutely. So essentially what happened is, just a little brief front story to it, is I got really sick with symptoms of Lyme, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, arthritis, trigger point pain and headaches. I started to develop, I had severe anxiety and depression with it all. And then I had irritable bowel syndrome and lots of chronic pain just throughout my body. And so I had shifted my diet. I was taking herbs. I was doing everything that I could to heal. And there came a point in time where I just intuitively had this feeling that you've learned all that you can through these physical means, and your dedication and your obedience to all of that to try to heal, but you're missing a piece, a really critical piece. And when you find that piece, you will be completely healed. And so I was really excited, because it had been 18 months. It was a very long journey of dealing with that chronic illness, and then I realized that God's power could heal me, It was almost like a simple realization, and it was something that had always been on the back of my mind, but I just never felt worthy or ready, like I could just ask for it and have the faith that it would be so. And so at that point, I just started to follow, I started to do meditation. I started to really try to strengthen that relationship and align to Him, and realize, if I can see myself the way He sees me and feel His love and see that perfection that He sees in me, then if I was a perfect being, then I wouldn't be sick, right? So I kind of started to do those things, and shortly after I was healed, and I was taught that our spiritual DNA has a very strong forbearance on our outcome physically, how we perceive the world, how we deal with our stress, how we heal from illness. We can empower our bodies by shifting our spiritual DNA in the right direction towards God, or we can desensitize them and kind of pull them downward and inhibit the ability to heal by our actions and our thoughts and the things that we do every day. And so as I learned about spiritual epigenetics, it was kind of a mind-blowing opportunity to recognize the power that we hold within ourselves to heal as we shift our DNA in the right direction. And these things aren't physical, but it's like your attitudes towards yourself, your love towards yourself and towards others, your love toward God, your faith, like your belief that you can heal, getting rid of fear. I feel like when we're sick, we're required to face our fears, all of them, and to really overcome our fears. So I feel like that's a really important part to heal that DNA, so that you can heal your physical, illness that you're dealing with.
So does this align with chakras and a yogi philosophy, or is this separate than that?
I feel like some parts of it could be interwoven, because it is important to have your chakras aligned energetically. But I feel like the foundation of faith in God, and following your personal intuition will lead you to the things that will balance your chakras in a personal way.
Okay, so do you feel like physicians or practitioners need to align themselves before they actually go and get into a faith-based practice themselves, before they actually enter the room, saying, they're commanding their subconscious mind to pull upon their strength and their wisdom and all the knowledge that they've learned before they actually walk into the room? Or is it more in regards to listening to the patient and having the patient guide the practitioner?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel that it becomes a way of living where every day, before you even get out of bed, you shift that ego, you get rid of the ego, and you say, I'm here to serve God, and I want to do the best that I can, and I want to help his children. I want to help my patients to heal. And so if you go within that mindset and you go about your day and you meet with patients and you do so just with pure love because you want to help them, you'll be empowered, and they too have to come to the table with an open heart and a desire to really heal, and that they have to express faith in you. I have found that if I have patients come through the door and they're very closed and they're very particular, they've already made up their mind with, this is not going to help me, this is not going to help me, then that energy to know what they need and how to help them is almost inhibited. It's like blocked. So I feel that both the practitioner and the patient have to have an open heart, open mind, to be aligned to God or their higher power in deciphering what's the next step for me on my healing journey. And I feel like the patient has to be empowered and not just come to the provider and say, you're going to fix me, you do this. They have to take some responsibility. They have to make some changes if it's required, and their heart has to be open to that instead of closing off and saying, oh no, I'm not going to change my lifestyle, no way, they have to be open.
I think I'm going to interrupt you just a little bit, because in my experience, patients are going to the doctor to be corrected, and they want a fast, quick pill, right, to say, right, this will make you better, and they want the quick answer, right? So have you found, as you've switched over your practice, have you found that you've had to maybe fire some patients because you're like, look, you and I don't align, and you need to find a practitioner that aligns with you better because they'd probably be able to help you better? Mm-hmm. Have you had to do that in your practice?
I haven't necessarily had to fire patients. What I found is that naturally it'll flow the way it's supposed to. So if they come in and they're in a point where they want to make those changes and we're a team together, I'm not going to be the dictator of their care plan. When we work synergistically together, then amazing things happen. I've seen miracles happen. I do have some patients who will look at me after I explain some things and I give them options, and they're just like, I just want you to tell me what to do. And in that case, I pray about it and I will give them some guidance and direction. But ultimately, the feeling I have is that God wants people to be more empowered and to start making informed decisions on their own. And the practitioner can guide them in that and give them further information and knowledge. And so for those individuals, there are some that are really hardcore, just, I want to go to the doctor and I want this treatment right here. They tend to filter out of my practice anyway and go find what will work for them.
So recently, Karsen Delgado has published a book, and it's called Healed by His Hand, and this is the cover of the book. Can you express what this book means to you?
I might get a little emotional. I wrote this book from my heart, and I wrote it because after I was healed, it was miraculously healed by God, He told me to write it. And He told me to share my story, but also to share the lessons that I learned about changing your heart. Because for my journey, it was all about, well, I want to heal, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to change my diet. I'm going to take these supplements. I'm going to do this, until it was like I had to change my heart and ask myself, Karsen, why? Why are you changing your diet? Like, what is the meaning behind this whole journey? And when I was able to realize I need to appreciate the foods that Mother Earth gives us. I need to appreciate the supplements. I need to appreciate my body, that it's fighting for me. It's helping me to heal. My whole mindset shifted to just gratitude, and faith and love. And when I was able to have that love for myself, instead of feeling broken and that I was, going to be sick my whole life, and I shifted that, I was empowered and I was able to heal. And so that's what the book is about, helping people get empowerment to heal themselves through the power of God.
Wow, that emotionally touched me. I think in regards to finding a spiritual path, in my perspective, is a part of health, right? So typically, we always start with the physical body, right? We start with the physical body because the hormones, right? If food is information, if we've said food is information, and we're feeding our body with the right information, right? That regulates our hormones and the chemicals that get passed out, right? And then we can't be in the right emotions, right? And meaning to our emotions if we don't, if our physical body is not intact, right? In a good place. And I feel like spirituality, in connecting to that higher energy, their higher fields, and if you're not really a person that believes in God, typically most people believe in some type of energy force, energy field, nature, right? Or other people that are more knowledgeable than us, right? Curiosity, kind of a love of learning. Those people have a higher energy field. And in my perspective, the higher you can raise your level of consciousness, right, in your mind, the more amount of people that you can actually influence. And to be able to get to that higher level of consciousness, I think that we all need to humble ourselves in some way, so we can listen to that higher energy field and God. And that is easier said than done, because we have to make sure that we're living a pure, right, in a pure form. So, and we have to be in a place that we can actually receive and listen to in order to get that enlightenment, right? I spent 10 days in a Buddhist monastery and not talking to anyone. We couldn't make eye contact with anyone. You couldn't, right? So you were listening, and during those 10 days, I was just listening to nature. I was observing nature. I was watching little ants crawl, right? There was monkeys around me. And I remember the first time that I actually heard a person speak after those 10 days. And I was like, why are you talking so loud, right? That the sound of a human voice just was too much for my body to accept at that time. Because I was in a place of of listening, and I felt like nature, for me, nature was a place where it was bringing in a lot of different enlightenments, because as I was watching, right, the ants, they always found a way, right? If they found a blockade, there was kind of a way around that. And I think spirituality is the same way, right? If there's a blockade that comes, right, listen to your way, that find another way. And ants are always preparing for winter.
Mm-hmm.
Their whole, everything they do in the summertime, they're preparing for winter, and we have winter in our lives. So, right, financially, we have winter times in our lives. So what are you doing in the summer months to prepare for the winter months? And I feel like our health is aligned to that as well.
Yes, I agree completely. And I feel that so many individuals aren't prepared for a storm of health when it comes. I had a colleague who had transverse myelitis, and he had been a busy nurse practitioner working in the hospital. He was bedridden and paralyzed for months and months and months. He had to relearn how to walk, and he just said, it rocked my world. Like, I never in a million years would have anticipated getting sick, and especially in this way. So I think it's also important, like you said, that we as individuals are strong mentally and emotionally and physically, that we do the best we can to take care of our bodies, to take care of our spirits and our higher knowing, and really tuning into that, because when you're in the thick of it and you're at rock bottom, that is the one thing that will help to lift you out of it, is that connection to your higher power, to God.
I think sometimes when we have to hit rock bottom, for us to actually turn to a spiritual path or a higher energy. And a lot of times, I think you were right in regards to the ego getting in the way. Mm-hmm. The ego gets into the way because it is all-knowing, right? In a way, right? We find that the ego is all-knowing, or that's what our perception is. Mm-hmm. And when we step outside of the ego and realize that life's about a continuum, and in my perspective, we're working on false knowledge. I call it false knowledge. Where we have different times in our life, right? When I was 16, I knew everything.
Yeah.
I knew everything at 16. And then I was 25, right? And as I've aged, right, I've found out that I know nothing.
There's so much more to learn.
Yeah. So my life is smoother and more in sync when I will listen to that spiritual path. Mm-hmm. So what do you do on a day, like you said that you woke up in the morning and you align? What is your spiritual ritual that you do?
So I wake up in the morning and I express gratitude to God. So for me, mine is through prayer and meditation. And I express gratitude to God, and I don't just express it in words, but I really try to, in my mind's eye, imagine myself with my higher power, with God, and I really try to almost express the feelings of my heart in a visual way. And that is beautiful, and it helps me to align to Him. And I always ask for help throughout the day, multiple times a day, to make sure that I'm in alignment, that I'm not doing things out of pride or, to show up my cohorts, or to try to become better or show that I'm better, because I'm not. We're all here learning together. So I'm always trying to check my intentions, like, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I saying what I'm saying? And I ask forgiveness. I really believe that there's this power in recognizing that you have a fault and that you want to strengthen it. And so asking for help and saying, I know that I did this wrong. I just made a huge mess. I'm so sorry. Can you help me to do better next time? I feel that those things are all empowering and help you to stay aligned and help you to stay in sync with that spiritual revelation that you can get.
So one of the things that always impresses me every time I interact with you, Karsen, is your love and passion for learning, right? The first time I met you, I went to a Utah hormone group, right? Learning about, right, with a bunch of different medical practitioners. And you were actually the speaker that evening.
Oh, was I?
It was on my first event. You were the first speaker. And I was like, this a group I can align with. And you were talking about EBV virus and Epstein-Barr virus and how those play a role into into disease. Mm-hmm. And so can you speak a little bit in regards to that? Because I know that is a passion of yours. And I think maybe that's because of your own disease, because of Lyme disease, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So how does that come into play in regards to illness?
Yes, so I found that a lot of chronic disease and illness are from viruses like Epstein-Barr virus, and that even the autoimmune disease umbrella is tied to a virus, and that it's not truly our bodies, attacking ourselves. And I don't know if you've heard of Anthony William before. Mm-hmm. So that was what I was led to when I got sick, was like, this protocol is what will work for you. And I always encourage people to pray and get your personal guide, because that may not be the way for everyone to heal from chronic illness. But so as I incorporated those things, I researched them, because I love to research, and I found that every modality was backed by research. And so I'm really passionate about helping people identify that their illness could be from a viral entity, and that you can change the outcome. You can increase your immune system strength. You can, eat pure, clean foods that have a very high vibration to raise your own vibration, so that you can kind of stamp out the darkness, the lower energy of disease. So I really love that. And there's something really powerful in unity. You were talking about the alignment. So you align your body to the right nutrition. You align your spirit and your heart to be open to what you need to do in your life's path. But the more and more that people align together, and they're open in sharing their journeys and their knowledge and their experience, and again, without the ego, but like we unify together to try to find the ways to help others to heal. And this is what I envision, is just thousands and thousands of practitioners coming together and bringing their gifts and talents to the table. And we're all unified. We're all desires to help others to heal, because we truly love them, because we love them. And it has no monetary value. We're not looking to make big bucks. But if we can really align to that, then all these viruses and all these diseases and all of these like lower vibration things, they'll go away. Really people can heal by unity and alignment.
No, I think the power of community is, I think that's why I'm doing these podcasts, actually, because I think there needs to be a power of community and this rise of level of consciousness, and a rise in regards to, because I look at anyone super successful, right, in regards to wealth. They didn't get there by themselves, right? They are not a hermit, right? Mm-hmm. They did not get there. They had a team behind them that supported them and that loved them. And I have my strengths, you have your strengths, right? And if I can be a bigger person and say, Karsen can do that better than me, and I can really do some self-reflection and say that I wish I had that attribute about myself, but I don't, right? And Karsen has that. And if I can be a true leader, and to me that's what a true leader is when you step aside and you can see that somebody else is more correct or better off in that position. Mm-hmm. That is, to me, that is true leadership, right? And as I've been in corporate America, the leaders that I respected were the ones that could set themselves aside and watch somebody else rise to the top, right? And not let their own ego get in the way, because I think that that's human nature. Mm-hmm. That happens. And for those that can set that aside, and I feel like every time I interact with you, that you are extremely knowledgeable in comparison to your peers. And you step aside, and when it's time for you to speak up, you speak up. And when it's not, then you let the person be, like, shine in all of their glory. And I want you to know I really, truly respect that about you.
Oh, thank you, Jamie.
Yeah, you're welcome.
No, I admire you and all that you do. And And I feel like so often we feel like we're just not enough and that we can't excel in an area. But I've realized we all can grow together. And when you find someone that has that attribute that you're looking for, like, we can learn from them together, and we can all gain that attribute. We can all become amazing at everything, just not all at once, right?
Yeah.
But little by little. And so I love Dean Jolly. He'd mentioned, like, there's a bigger pie out there. You know, everyone is so concerned about their own personal revenue or their welfare. But if you realize that everyone is available to have all of it, and if we can share that with each other, then we all become better.
Mm-hmm. Well, Karsen, how do people find you, and what's the name of your company and your social media? How do people find you?
Oh, so my practice it's called Body Balanced Care, and so you can just go online, www.bodybalancedcare.com, and so that's my website. It has my contact information. I started a blog, healedbyhishand.wordpress.com, to just delineate my journey and help others, who want further information as to how they can heal by faith. And then the book, there's a website, healedbyhishand.com, and that's the book website. And you can read some of the book for free, and you can contact me via email through that as well.
Great. This is Jamie with promoting health, wellness, and performance, and you can find us at legendshealth.net, and you can also find us on Facebook and Instagram and follow us there. And thanks, and look forward to, if you like this episode, thumbs up. Put a thumbs up. Thanks.